Hey there, this is Brendan with Business for Chummies. In this short video, we're going to be talking about the SUMIF and SUMIFS formulas to help you add values in your data worksheet using specific if-then criteria. So we have our data set here at the top. It's a simple data of sales. So we have the first column, A, is the order date. B is the region that the sale took place in. Next, we have the representative's last name, the item that was sold, how many of those units were sold, the cost of each of those units, and then a sum of those units. So 95 units times about $2 gives us about $190. So we're going to be using the SUMIF and SUMIFS formulas to populate our sales summary table down here with a couple of different types of columns. So for each representative, we want to know how many units that representative sold, their total percent of the sales, and then we've got some interesting facts here. We want to know how many pencils he sold, how many binders he sold, and how many desks he sold. And so for the first two columns, we'll be using the SUMIF formula, and then for the last three columns, we'll be using the SUMIFS formula with multiple criteria. So let's go ahead and get started here on the first one. In this cell, we're going to be looking up for the representative Jones in the table above, where Jones is in column C. We want to know a sum of all of the units sold in column E. So I'll go ahead and equals SUMIF. And the first thing is the range. It's asking for this value that you're looking up, where is that range found? So I'm going to go and say we're looking for the value of Jones in this range. I'll hit comma. And it's asking next, what is the actual value you're looking up? So here I could type in the word Jones in quotation marks if I had a specific string I was looking for. But the safer way to do this is to just reference the cell itself. And then finally, it's saying once we find all of your values in column C, we're going to sum up some values on those same rows. Where is the range that you want to sum? So since we're checking the units sold, I'm going to go ahead and then highlight the range in the units E column. And then I'll close parens and hit enter. All right, because I have this already formatted as a table, Excel has gone ahead and assumed that I'd like to do the same thing for the rows below, and it's pre-populated those with my formula. So let's go ahead and check our work here. According to our formula, Jones sold 330 units in the data set above. So I'm just going to help myself here by highlighting the rows where Jones is in column C. I use some conditional formatting to do that. Check out my other video on conditional formatting to learn some tips and tricks on that. So we have here Jones. I'm just going to go ahead and highlight and control click all of these values in column E to check my work. So we have column E selected, and down at the bottom, yep, sure enough, we have 330 is the sum here, which matches our table. All right, the next one, what we're going to do is we want to return a total percentage of sales. So of the $7,200 that's in the total data set above, I want to know how much of that total sales Jones was responsible for. So this is currently formatted as a percentage. Let's just go ahead and format that as an accounting type for our first step here. So again, let's do a SUMIF. The range again is column C. The value we're looking for is Jones in column A over here in our data table. And the range this time is going to be the total column. So we want to know for all of the rows that had Jones in column C, what is the total amount of sales in column G? And I'll close that. So according to this, Jones is responsible for $2,000 out of the $7,200. But I want to know what the percentage of sales is. So I just need to do some quick math here, and I need to divide the amount of sales by Jones by the total. So I'm just going to come into my formula here, divide, and then I'll select my total and hit enter. And then, I forgot I need to do an absolute cell value because what's doing is in this, in the row below, it's thinking I want to continue to apply this formula and it's moving the total column down one cell for each row. So I need to make sure that I put an absolute reference in here using my dollar signs. So I'm saying no matter which row you're in, always use G20 as my total. So this is now correct, but it's in the wrong format. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight these and turn this back to a percentage. And now we have our percentage of total sales. So we have Jones is responsible for 28% of all the sales during this sales period. Next, we want to do a column that uses multiple criteria. So we want to do a count of pencils sold by Jones. So again, we're going to look up in column C where Jones was the sales rep, but now we have two criteria. We want to know that the item that was sold in column D was a pencil, and then we want to sum up the criteria. We want to sum up the number of units in column E only if it was Jones in column C and pencil in column D. So for that, we're going to use the SUMIFS formula. So I'll type equal SUMIFS. And here this starts a little bit backwards. So with the SUMIF formula, you're entering the criteria first. Here you're going to enter the sum range first and then the multiple criteria afterwards. So it's a little bit backwards, but it makes somewhat sense because you're entering multiple criteria after the sum. So I'm saying I want to sum the number of units that are sold in column E. And now I'll go ahead and enter in my criteria. So for my first criteria is I only want to sum the units column if the representative is Jones, and that value of Jones will be found, the range for that value will be found in column C. Next I'll hit comma, and now it's saying in column C, what's the criteria you're looking for? Again, I'll just go ahead and put my cell value A24 over here. And I'll hit comma again, and it's essentially starting over. So there's this pair of criteria. It's asking you what's the range for the criteria, and then what's the criteria you're looking for, and then it starts over again. What's your next range of criteria, and what's the criteria there? So our next range is going to be in the item column. We want to look in column D, and then I'll hit comma for any value where pencil is found. And I'm going to put that in quotation marks. So here, and then I'll close the formula. Here we say sum up column E, where the value in column C is equal to Jones, and the value in column D is equal to pencil. So I'll go ahead and enter, and it looks pretty good. So let's just double check our work here. So it's saying Jones sold 130 pencils in our data here. So let's just come up, do a quick check. So Jones pencil, yep, there's one. Binder, pencil, pen set, and pen. So we've got 95, 35, that gets us our 130, and that matches our table. All right, and then we can just do the same thing for binders, and rather than rewrite it, I'm just going to copy this. You don't want to copy the cell contents and paste, because then it's going to automatically translate all of your column and cell values. So I just went into the formula, copied the cell. In my next column, I'm just going to paste it. So all of my column values stayed the same, and all I need to change here is the word binder. And I'll do the same thing for desk. And hit enter. All right, I'm going to clear out these formatting errors. All right, so according to our work here, looks like James sold a total of 330 units. He's representing 28% of sales. He sold 130 pencils, 120 binders, zero desks sold, and then we could continue to do the same for the pen sets and the pens. All right, the really simple use of the SUMIF and SUMIFS formulas. I hope you learned something, had some fun. We'll see you next time.